Hi, we're back. I'm Ryan Lawler, and I'm here with Rob Coneybeer from Shasta Ventures. He's going to be one of our judges for Hardware Battlefield coming up in a few minutes. About a year or so ago, you made the decision to invest just in hardware, or almost completely in
primarily, yeah.
Primarily in hardware. Why do you figure now was the time to do that?
Well, I think it's an exciting time to be investing in hardware companies because it's a lot cheaper to build the companies. They're a lot easier to scale, and it's a lot easier to promote the companies and actually build brands where you couldn't before.
Okay. And you're seeing this a lot at things like CES, where you're seeing a lot of startup companies launch or release new products. What's gotten you excited over the past year or so, from shows like this?
Yeah, well, one of the things that's happened is the Internet of Things that a lot of people weren't talking about even 4 or 5 years ago is starting to come into the popular consciousness. So a lot of consumers in, I'd say a lot of the Midwestern states as well as the coasts are familiar with the idea of products that are connected to the internet and start to become more interesting as a result. So you take a look at the Nest thermostat that's popularized the idea of an internet-connected device. You take a look at the different types of consumer robotics, et cetera. All these things starting to connect to the internet and have regular software updates that starts to bring them alive, starts to enchant them, really gets me excited. And you're seeing a lot of that type of innovation at shows like CES now.
Okay, cool. What about wearables?
Wearables is a very interesting category. It's a category that I think was really pioneered a few years ago, and now it's really entered the mainstream. I think from a startup point of view, it's a difficult space to be in. There were early pioneers like James Park with Fitbit, very exciting company. You take a look at Eric Mijakovsky with Pebble. These were guys that pioneered both the idea of a fitness tracker and a smart connected watch. And they've been so successful that they've attracted the attention of giants like Samsung and others, Nike, that have come in and really copied a lot of their original ideas and are now starting to throw huge marketing budgets against it, which from the perspective of an early stage venture investor makes it an interesting category, but not one that's as interesting as other areas that aren't discovered by the giants yet.
Right. I mean, how do you think about that? I feel like, there's always cases in software startups where, you'll have a product like a social networking product or something come along, and then you'll have a big giant try to copy it and not be as successful. Is that really something that's different in the hardware market?
I think it's companies that have, they have hardware and it's instantiated in hardware, but when you have software that can really differentiate it and build a great experience, that's where startups can really thrive. So when you look at a company like Nest, for example, and the idea of a hardware product that incorporates a carbon monoxide detector and a smoke detector, everybody can do that. But the idea of being able to incorporate voice and to be able to incorporate it with other devices so that if you detect carbon monoxide, you turn off the thermostat, those are things that startups, when they implement software after they ship the original hardware, can really shine and can run circles around the large incumbents.
Okay. What's got you excited at this show, at this year?
Well, I think what's really excited me is that when you look at the coverage from TechCrunch and you take a look at the coverage from other large media players, a lot of what's exciting now is coming from startups. So whether it's the sorts of startups that are in the battlefield that we're going to see shortly, one of the companies that I'm particularly intrigued by is Parrot. And surprisingly, Parrot comes from France. And they have these small robots that are out there now. I don't know if you've seen these robots. They're actually jumping robots and small drones, et cetera.
Oh, right.
But the level of innovation that comes out of that company and creativity, they built some of the first quad-rotor drones that were connected by an iPhone. I'm particularly impressed by and seeing a lot of innovation coming out of that. So that's one area. Taking a look at health tracking devices, very interesting as well. Wearables, a lot of exciting stuff. And then I will say one big category that is pretty interesting is on the display side. Okay. I actually think people will like the curved displays. I think those actually will be a big hit.
Okay, so you are one of our judges coming up for Hardware Battlefield. What are you going to be looking for in evaluating these hardware startups that are presenting?
Well, there will be two things that I'm particularly interested in. One is is it a pioneering concept? So is it a concept that hasn't been, and an idea that hasn't been identified by one of the big consumer electronics giants? That's one thing that I'm very interested in. And then the second will be, is there a very big market opportunity, scalable market opportunity? So I think you can build interesting companies around niches, but what can you find that can really scale to a really broad market will be one of the other things that I'm very interested in seeing.
See, I'm kind of curious about that because you talk about companies like Fitbit or like Pebble who create, a single product, or they have that singular niche. And you also mentioned sort of Internet of Things or connected home stuff. And there's a lot of companies in there trying to actually be platforms to own that space. Which would you rather invest in?
So without question, the companies that I'm interested in are the ones that are building great products that can appeal to a large group of people. And if you start with a great product and a simple proposition in terms of how you're going to help that consumer and why they're going to want your product, once you get to scale and you get to a lot of end users engaged with your product, then you can evolve and pivot into a platform company. But I think it's much, much more difficult to start a company as a platform company, tell people to come in and work with us as a platform when you don't even have scale to begin with.
Okay, when you think about that, it seems like now it's easier than ever to create a hardware product, to prototype it, to actually bring it to market. Then, what's the challenge in actually getting the distribution and finding that market share, getting that share of voice among consumers?
Well, all those elements are execution elements. So you can have a great idea, but if you're not a good storyteller, then it doesn't matter. It's a storyteller in terms of capturing the attention of the media. It's a storyteller in terms of being able to capture the imaginations of people that might invest and allow you to actually build lots of your product, and a storyteller in terms of capturing the imagination of the customers. So you had asked before about what else I'll be looking for. So are they pioneers, big market opportunity, but also are they good storytellers?
Okay, cool. And what sort of things have you invested in recently that you think are really cool?
So one of the companies that I'm particularly excited about is called Plethora, where we're a seed investor.
I haven't heard of that one.
And everybody's excited about 3D printing from the idea of additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing being, I add it layer by layer by layer by layer. What they're doing is they're saying, how do we build a great cloud subtractive manufacturing platform? And subtractive manufacturing is the big computer milling machines that you see that actually subtract material to get to your finished product. And it turns out that it's cheap, it's fast, highly reliable, and with subtractive manufacturing, you can build it out of just about any material that you want. And Nick Pinkston and his small team right now are basically saying, let's take the off-the-shelf machines, let's put software plugins into CAD software, the big CAD software programs that are out there right now, and allow anybody in the world to be able to press print and over the cloud, send it to them, and then them build anything you want using a subtractive manufacturing technique. So it's almost a back to the future company.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here and talking to us.
Sure.
Stick around right here.
Okay.
You guys at home, stick around for a few minutes. We're going to have Hardware Battlefield in a few minutes, and it'll be really cool.
Great.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.